oddly enough, when I was young or like a little kid, I've actually experienced some like bad things happen to me. Like I remember my sister and I we were playing. We used to live a lot deeper in the city, like down by Liberty Street by the waterfront. And we were playing outside, and my sister, she was wearing like this nice necklace, and I was playing with her, and like these two guys, they like pass by and like try to steal her necklace. Like, oh, give it here. I'm just like, no, I like, and me being the brother, try to like help her, protect her, or something like. I remember it was something like that. It was a long time ago, and then later on, when I'm like, when I was attending high school at like when I was like 15, I think. Um, I was walking home with my friend, and these two guys, they started walking up towards us, and like you could tell they were bad because the way they were dressed, and they tried to actually like they stopped us and they tried to rob us, my friend and I, but like me, just like knowing, like just how to like avoid these people, I just like literally just walked right by them. Unfortunately, my friend he didn't. He wasn't like fast on his feet, so he got stuck, and he argued with them, but luckily they didn't do anything dangerous to him or like harmful to him. But like after that, we just left, and it was fine. Literally like down the block of my street. Like I think they might have passed away, and like I live close to NFA, the Newburgh Free Academy, the high school there, and like there have been two like murders there during me actually attending high school. My name is George, and I'm 23 years old, and I grew up in Newburgh, New York, and I'm pretty much a Mexican American just living in Newburgh right now. So, since pretty much I had access to games at like an early age, that really, I felt like that kept me off the streets of Newburgh, which was considered a dangerous city to live in. But like, I never like I didn't experience it a lot during a young age, but I know my parents, they must have saw it like a lot like, while they lived there. And so they happily bought me games to like keep me at home or like in a secure place to for me to just play and play with my friends who often came over. I got started into video games at a really early age. I think like 5 or 6. I remember my older brother. He bought like the Nintendo Entertainment System, and then from there, I basically just got started playing these funny games like Mario, Duck Hunt. Right now, I'm working on a horror game since I really like the horror genre, and so I'm making a game based on like a Latino like a cultural thing about the story of like uh, La Llorona, or the weeping woman or the crying woman in English, and basically like it was for me. I actually had a fear of her when I was young because like my parents always used to like tease me with her, saying, "Oh, don't uh, if you wake up weird or you're sleeping weird or have trouble sleeping, it's her. It's La Llorona trying to like steal you away or steal your soul." I don't know. It was some weird thing. Like they try to just scare me pretty much, or like yeah, they just try to tease me or scare me about the dark or stuff like that. So yeah, this is just a placeholder world right now that I'm testing. Like this isn't the final like vision I had of the world where the game's gonna take place. But yeah, I can take you through like a simple walk in the woods right now. Like this is with all the assets and everything running properly right now that I'm still testing. But like I'm deciding whether I want to go like actually like into Spanish culture, or maybe like change the game into like some sort of fantasy, or I don't know. Add like I'm just messing with like the genres right now. I decided to focus on this story of La Llorona because for me, I really want to like reach out to people and teach them about like the Latino culture.
It's become part of higher learning. It's become even in a humanities school that isn't a technical school. it's we're living in an age that um, games are seen as part of our culture and can be a powerful way of presenting ideas, just as powerful as filmmaking or um, I don't know if I can say literature, but as far as media making, I think it's just as powerful as any media format out there. That I started wanting to produce my own games as an art form, and primarily an art form that looked critically at social issues. And I just felt that if people are interacting with a game in first person and it's not a passive sort of taking in a topic, but they're involved in a game that presents a difficult situation or a common situation that exists for people, it will hopefully push the player to think about um, other people's realities.
So, have you seen like any other examples of games that are like doing what you're doing, but like in like the main industry?
Um, yeah, recently, I haven't played this game. It's been in the news recently. I think it's called Palestine, and it's a game that places a player in the Iran Revolution, and you have to make certain decisions about how to react initially to the activists, or do you play a role in the revolution or not. So so there's definitely that one is a mainstream game. You can play it on Steam. You can I don't know if it's available on different systems, but I know it's published on Steam and probably other media outlets. But I think it's been slow to, I think in general people look to games for entertainment, and it's definitely gotten really sophisticated insofar as storytelling and putting you in a narrative that can play out in different forms, but taking on critical issues in more sort of straightforward or more transparent ways, I think might limit the lifespan of a product. So I don't know. That's my take on why the industry wouldn't want to put a lot of money and people and resources into games that are
Incorporate social issues.
yeah.
So like, what about like?
Oh no, not at all. I mean, even it's become part of higher learning. It's become even in a humanities school that isn't a technical school. We're living in an age that games are seen as part of our culture and can be a powerful way of presenting ideas, just as powerful as filmmaking or I don't know if I can say literature, but as far as media making, I think it's just as powerful as any media format out there that there is no shame in.
So then, why did you choose?
That game, Ometepe, is a 2D game, very much like it could be something out of the mid to late 80s. And a lot of that has to do with the aesthetics that I grew up with. And like, I grew up loving watching Hanna-Barbera cartoons. And you look at those today, and they look horrible. I mean, they look like such simplistic animation, but I still really enjoy it. And so it's become part of the language in my creative work. And so I like taking these sort of old looking 2D animation and finding ways to make it interactive, and then also tackling issues that I'm investigating. So I went to Carnegie Mellon because I wanted to do time-based interactive work that would put the viewer in an immersive situation that wasn't like looking at a painting or looking at a sculpture, but rather you were asked to touch something or interact with it. Over time, just through my practice, looking at issues and wanting to present them, as games have become a vehicle that I almost think in that way when I start researching something and start interviewing people. I start thinking about, this would be an interesting scenario where you're presented with certain tasks, and then Ometepe, to be entirely honest, was originally I was looking for it to be a VR project, and I went to the island. I interviewed people. I stayed there for a little while, and the project was going to be about this canal that was being planned. It was going to be a cross-oceanic canal connecting the Atlantic to the Pacific that was going to cut through Nicaragua and through Lake Nicaragua and cause all sorts of environmental devastation. And what, as I was doing this, I discovered the canal isn't going to happen. There's not really a project there, but it could happen sometime in the future. It's all on hold right now because they've lost the funding. They don't have the means. The Hong Kong billionaire who's going to fund it has lost billions in the Chinese stock market. So I didn't have the content to build a VR project because there wasn't construction that I was expecting to see, the drudging that I was expecting to see. That content wasn't there. However, what animation and this sort of gameplay allows is that you can still take a topic, like it didn't depend on footage and interviews. I can still use the research that I did to inform a game. To make a long story short, the game became a means of taking my research, doing something with it, with the reality that a canal may not be realized. And hopefully, by taking popular characters such as Chapulín Colorado, that's very popular in Latin America, people will be attracted to the game, want to play the game, and by doing so, think about what's happening in that country and that there is once again a dictatorship that's been installed. So it allows me to bring up a number of topics. My hope is that there's enough visual entertainment in the gameplay that people are attracted to it, and once they're playing, they'll want to pass it to other people. And so beyond, triggering specific social questions, hopefully it'll spread based on the aesthetics that are presented in the game. It's people my age that first started playing games at home, and I'm 45, so anybody who's 50, 60, 70 may not have the same relationship to games. But I think as this industry grows older, I think it'll start getting more and more of the same attention that cinema gets. And the games are they're getting so much better. So yeah, I think it's a matter of time. I think it's still a young arena as far as media making. But yeah, it's not going anywhere. It's only going to keep growing. I don't know to what level it can affect personal change, but I definitely think that and Pokemon Go is a good example that that the potential is there to make people go and do things. And there was again on the radio there was a woman being interviewed who, because of Pokemon Go, went to places she would have never gone to in Japan, and it affected her way of moving through that country when she visited. So yeah, and being active, getting out there. Yeah, I think games have that potential. It's just a matter of finding a way to tap into it that's exciting enough for people to actually, follow through and want to do that gameplay. It can be short lived. I mean, as far as I've heard, people Pokemon, the bubble burst and there's less people going out, staring at their phone, looking for Pokemons. So there is, like any media, there is kind of a lifespan. But even if it's for a short amount of time, if it causes people to get more exercise or be more active or be more social, I think that's great. The potential's there.
I think that Pokemon Go has actually had some really positive effects. There's been all this stuff coming out about how people who were like depressed and staying home have been playing it and like getting out and meeting people in their neighborhoods and all of that. So and that's going on now. So we'll see what happens. As for changing people's minds, has there been anything like really massive that's changed people's minds? I guess I'll have to think about that. I think there's a lot of reactions against things in games. A lot of how people are represented, how women and minorities are represented. I mean, that's a huge issue. Just starting, and then later on, I guess a lot of my friends from high school, they're like really big gamers, a lot of them. So I think that was how we socialized, and I know that's true for a lot of people today, a lot of people in my class. I mean, we were just looking at Twitch. So there's all these new ways of being social and connecting to people online. And there's an organization, Games for Change, and they do, events and a festival every year, and it's a lot of people who are trying to make these social change games. And that's not it. That's not all. I guess a teacher of mine, Colleen Macklin, she's been doing a lot of games collaborating with the Red Cross. Well, I guess I brought this in today. So this is a card game, and it's made out of trash. And I have all of these parts. So these are things that were collected. Things we desoldered. And we have this is from computers and VCRs and all kinds of stuff that people were willing to give me. A lot of things from the 90s. But here, there's a little speaker, and I'm always finding little wires and things like that. And some of this can be reused. Here's this is an LED, this little light, and infrared transmitters. So that's like how you know how a remote works. You know, you're sending this sort of invisible light across a room, but you know. So then I had, and this is also like, just, I don't remember where I got this box from, but it's definitely, like secondhand, you know. And then all of this stuff is really just bags that I got and cut up, and even the printer that I have was donated, and you know, so all of these prints are, you know, this is something that we could actually build. But basically, you know, during this game, you have, like, each person gets one of these, and then they have to identify the parts, and like whoever gets all of their parts first wins. But you have to like collaborate with people to do it. So I think an important thing is that, you know, if we're in this situation, you know, we should really be relying on our community, you know. So I had a bunch of cards, and they're kind of gross. I actually like poured this stuff on it so the ink doesn't come off, and like it made them even more gross, and I just felt like that was really appropriate. But you know, there's all these situations that can happen, like you help a friend get on the community darknet. You could steal parts from other people in the game, and then you lose points for doing it. So I also have sort of a currency. This is my currency. This is just from like, you know, this is all junk that I had around. That's just from like those tins you get when you order takeout. You know, so if you collect enough of these, you're allowed to like put down a part, and you know, so bartering with people is a big part of it. You know, I was really inspired by like Settlers of Catan, and you know, that you have to collaborate with people to get anywhere in this game, but you know, there is a winner at the end. So it's a little uneasy, you know, that you're competing and collaborating at the same time, and that's something that happens in this game Gauntlet. It's like, I super like Gauntlet. It's like an old arcade game. If you guys go to Barcade or whatever, you can
I
play
remember.
it. And you know, so you can actually like help, you know, your teammates out during this game. Like you'll have like 4 people playing, and you know, trying to get through this maze is like full of monsters or whatever. And you know, if someone runs out of food, you can like help them find food and stuff like that. So you know, and it's really interesting to actually play it. Like I'm not gonna do it justice by like talking about it. You should go to Barcade. What else? So this is a game that we could play to like, you know, we could maybe one day figure out how to build a game console out of trash. I'm not there yet, but you know, maybe that's something we need to consider for a dystopian future. Maybe I should stop talking, it's like depressing.
No, it's fine. So like, you see games in general as a great teaching tool
Yeah.
for society, pretty much.
Well, I mean, that's one way it could be used. They actually run a conference at Hunter. No, it's not at Hunter. It's at the CUNY Graduate Center. educational games. Um, so that's something where people are specifically like focusing on that, like games in the classroom. Because I mean, psychologists have found that this is a really effective way to learn, actually. So there's that. Mm-hmm.
It's become part of higher learning. It's become, even in a humanities school that isn't a technical school, we're living in an age that um, games are seen as part of our culture and can be a powerful way of presenting ideas, just as powerful as filmmaking or I don't know if I can say literature, but as far as media making, I think it's just as powerful as any media format out there that